right, well, everyone, we're going to go ahead and jump in and get started. Like I just mentioned, definitely drop your comments and thoughts in the chat box, and then any questions, make sure to put those in the Q&A box so that we make sure we can get to answer those, but you all can actually upvote or like the questions that are asked. So maybe if there wasn't something that you asked, but you want to make sure one of the questions that does get asked gets answered, definitely like that and upvote it so that we can prioritize the ones we get to answer during our call today. We probably won't get to all of the questions. Please definitely add the questions in, because afterwards, what we'll do is grab all of the questions that we didn't get to and answer those in the follow-up. We will be sharing the recording afterwards, so you'll have the slides that we're sharing today, as well as the recording and all of the questions and answers. So definitely send your questions over to us and the team in the Q&A. All right, so as we dive in here today, we're going to be learning about Page Builder and the essentials of easily creating your intranet pages with Axero's intranet platform. So as we are diving in here, I'm going to share a little bit about who you'll be hearing from today. So I'm Nicole. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a senior manager here with our enterprise sales team. I mentioned before I'm in San Diego. And then we also have Nathaniel, who mentioned he's calling in from Nashville. Nathaniel is our lead front-end developer, and I would say our design and guru and specialist of making all things beautiful here. And then we'll also hear from Adam, our CEO, who will be calling in from New York. So we'll hear from each of them in just a moment here. Any questions, like I just shared, definitely drop them in the Q&A. We'll be pausing throughout our presentation to make sure that we get to answer as many questions as possible live, so that you can hear directly from Nathaniel on those answers and see live the answer in our page builder tool as well. So another quick item for anybody who would like to continue learning more, I'll make sure to mention this at the end as well, but we do have an online support community with a lot of knowledge and resources, our how-to videos and video guides, as well as documentation, so you all can continue learning more and exploring more about the Axero platform. So definitely check out our online support community. There will be a link at the end, but it is my.axerosolutions.com. All right, so I'm gonna send over to Adam quickly to say a quick note and drop in from our CEO.
Thanks, Nicole. I'll be brief here. I'll just say a quick hello. It's really fantastic to see, so many folks on the line, customers who have had a lot of experience with our platform, some of whom I see have been on the platform for 10 plus years. And then also, folks who are just starting off and are in the various stages of implementation. It's going to be a great conversation. I also see some folks who are thinking about launching a site on the platform, and it's a great mix of folks. I hope everyone has a chance to ask questions. We'll answer as many as we can here live with Nathaniel and Nicole. We have a few folks who are on the line as well in the chat who can help answer questions that don't get covered live. And then anything that you feel like you didn't get to ask or answer, feel free to reach out to us via email, via a case. We're always here to help support you. So it's great to see everyone. We're very excited, and I'll pass it back and look forward to the rest of the webinar.
Thank you, Adam, and thank you for joining us today. Always great to have our fearless leaders on the call with us. All right, so just a very quick high-level overview of what we'll dive into today. We will go through the actual Axero interface and all of the important tools for Page Builder, and we'll actually dive into a live demo of building out a page with the Axero platform. So you can see all of these skills put to use right inside your intranet, but Nathaniel will be driving that demonstration to build out that page example today. We'll take a look at the look and feel, the navigation experience, specific resources, images, polls, buttons, and menu options that can go anywhere on your pages. And it will really help to make your intranet look and function exactly how you want. So the flexibility is endless with our page builder tool. What we'll also do is a couple polls to just gauge the audience, take a quick pulse of everybody joining us today, and see a couple different things like your level of experience. If you are brand new to page builder or a well-versed and thoroughly experienced with page builder. So just a quick overview of who we are. I know, like Adam mentioned, many of you are longtime clients using Axero over the years, but we are also joined by lots of organizations who are just new to Axero. So we are a growing organization. We've been around for quite some years. And we are leading the industry in your ultimate digital workplace tools. All right, I'm going to hand it over to Nathaniel, and we're going to jump in and take a quick poll, take a pulse of the audience here to see what your familiarity is. So jump in, answer the poll. Just 2 quick questions here. You'll see that pop up on your screen. But since we do have a variety of attendees, we would like to know just what your familiarity is with our page builder tool. Have you heard of it? Are you very familiar, and are you currently using it today? So just drop in your answers there. We'll get an idea of the experience level of everyone that's joining us today. We have lots of participants, so good to see what level of experience everyone has.
I know Alex launched that. Alex, are you seeing any results? I am not on my side, so I don't know if you're getting those or if I'll get those as well. Okay, I think she said she's going to send that to us in just a little bit here. All right, so give me 1 second, and what we will do. All righty, so it looks like, yeah, it looks like it's almost 50-50. So it seems like, you know, about half of you here don't have any experience, aren't familiar with Page Builder, and then the other half have some experience or some familiarity. And a very small percentage are very familiar. So I know we do have quite a few of our users I would probably consider, you know, power users. The amazing thing about the Axero platform is just how flexible it is. So it can be as simple and as easy to use as you'd like, or it can be as customized as you want to. So it's kind of a really nice platform to get started on and really just, you know, create the vision of your intranet. So let me go ahead and see real quick. I just want to make sure I can, okay, so I guess that's what that note was for. I think, Nicole, am I able to scroll through? There we go. Okay, I think I've got control now. Sorry about that. Taking a sec to figure this out. Okay, so I just want to explain a little bit about what Page Builder is. I'm going to talk about some of the basics of the interface, just so you have some familiarity with the terminology and what we're going to be talking about today, as well as some of the features, the layout options, and a little bit of the widgets. We're going to dive into a demo after that, so I'll be able to do a live demonstration building a page for you, a pretty simple streamlined homepage. I'll show you how to clone it, how to apply that to another page, and then we'll just open it up for any questions. So let's jump in here. So what is Page Builder? Page Builder is a kind of what it sounds like. It's a tool that allows you to build pages. It is what we would call a WYSIWYG, or what you see is what you get. It's all drag and drop. So there are drag and drop layouts. Everything's visual. You can grab widgets, you can place them where you want, you can configure them. There's pre-built templates for the widgets. So really it's designed to allow you to take the content you've created on your intranet and feature it on a page. You could add links, you can add images. It's just a really easy page designer for things like home pages, for things like landing pages for your different spaces in Axero, or standalone pages. You know, if you wanted to feature maybe some quick links to certain content, or maybe like an embedded YouTube video, things like that, you can do all that with Page Builder. So the Page Builder interface, it's broken down into basically three main components. You're going to have your sidebar and your what we call your layout designer, and then the header at the top of the screen. The main areas that you're really going to be utilizing are going to be that sidebar and the layout designer. So the sidebar is going to contain things like the details for your page. It'll have the page name. It's going to have the space that that page is attached to. So in the Axero platform, you have your community, which is your intranet in its entirety. We call that the top level community. And then you can further subdivide that into spaces. So you might have a space for human resources. You might have a space for information technology. You could have a space for teams, different project groups, or even regions. Really, the options are limitless. So you can use as much as you want, or have as many spaces as you like. But that's kind of the difference there. So in the details section, it allows you to determine, is this page going to live in your top level community? Is it going to live in a space? And then of course you would have the page URL. The layout section in the sidebar is going to be used for dragging and dropping the layout over. So you're going to have different rows, which will have different column widths in there. You'll get a better understanding of this once we dive into the demo, but you'll be able to see different columns, different widths. Let me go back here real quick. Oops. I think it's moving without me. All right, is it going back? There we go. Okay. And then in the sidebar, the last tab is going to be your widgets, and that's where you're going to find all of the different elements that you can drag and drop onto the page. So the layout designer is, that's going to be your canvas. So it's going to have a few different sections. You're going to have the page, and then in the page, you'll have those rows that you're going to drag and drop over, and then the widgets go inside the rows. You can also nest rows in each other. So I'm going to show you that. So if you need to further subdivide a row into additional columns, you can do that as well. And then the last tool that's part of this interface is going to be your header. So your header is going to contain more of your administration type tools. It's going to have a link to take you back to all the page builder pages you're working with. You'll be able to navigate between the layout view of your page where you're dragging and dropping all of your widgets, and the preview. So before you decide to publish it and save your changes, you can actually see your work by switching back and forth between the layout and the preview. There's also a mobile layout and a mobile preview. Now, we're not going to dive into the mobile page builder portion today, but it is for building pages for the mobile app. So Page Builder is a responsive design tool. So any page you create will be responsive and viewable on mobile web browsers, tablet web browsers. But we also have a companion app, a standalone application in the app stores that you can download. And you can also create pages for that app using the mobile layout. Usually what you're going to do with this is you're going to create a homepage for, say, your intranet, and then a mobile version of that homepage for the mobile app. Likewise, you could do that with Space. There's a Space homepage that's viewable on desktop browsers and mobile browsers. And then you would have a mobile version of that for the app. So that's what the mobile layout, mobile preview does. Obviously, the publish changes is going to be your save button. I'll give you some good advice on that, using that frequently and often. And then once you've saved your changes, you'll see a button that says go to page, takes you to the live page. And then there's a settings drop-down menu that's going to have things like the ability to clone pages, delete pages, create new pages, or get into some advanced features like customizing with CSS or modifying existing widget templates. We're not going to dive into those advanced features, but if you are interested in that, And considering that, there's at least a decent, 10%, 10 to 12% of you that are very advanced and are probably already using some of these features, we do have resources for those on myxerosolutions.com. All righty, so let me go ahead and talk a little bit about the widgets here. So widgets are, they're pre-built elements that you can drag into your layout. So each widget is unique. They are used to pull in things like content from throughout your intranet. So things like articles or blogs. They have the ability to pull in people. They have the ability to create navigation elements. You also have some advanced ones like the raw HTML widget that allows you to write your own HTML, your own markup. You could add JavaScript if you want. You could add additional CSS. So there's a lot of features that allow you to get really custom and advanced. But then there's a lot of simple widgets that just make it really easy to add certain features from your Axero intranet onto a page. Excuse me one second. So we're going to be focusing on more of those simple widgets today. So I'm going to be showing you some of the ones that you're going to use the most: the content list widget, the people widget, space widget. There's going to be a few others. And right now we're actually going to dive into the demo. This should take about maybe 30, 40 minutes or so. We'll try to make it short and sweet, but useful, and then we'll leave it open at the end for questions. But right now, I want to pause just for a second to see, do we have any current questions about just any of the items that we covered at the moment? Alex or Nicole, are you seeing any questions? I am not, so.
No,
right.
I don't see any yet. Make sure to drop any questions in Q&A if there's any questions about what Nathaniel just went over before he dives into the site live. Definitely drop them in the Q&A, and we will make sure we check them out there.
All right. I think we do have one I saw come up in the chat. So just to reiterate, there should be a Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom. We ask that you put the questions there. It's just going to be easy for us to, the ability to answer them, mark the ones as answered. And then if anybody else also has that same question, they can upload it. So we'll try to make sure we answer the most popular questions. But this question was there a place to visually display or see the widgets, right? The different templates before you actually create them. We do have that available on our support community. So in our documentation for each different widget, there is a list of the different templates, essentially the way that widget can be displayed with visuals. So that's at my.axerosolutions.com. We'll have the link at the end. We're also going to share that with you in this presentation. I believe we're sending everybody a copy of the PowerPoint. It's my understanding. Okay, and those have all the links to all the different resources. So you will have access to that also. Alrighty, so let me go ahead. I am going to share my screen, and we are going to jump into this demo here. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see my screen. I think I'm getting thumbs up. Okay, awesome. Alrighty, so this is an example of a page builder page designed to be the homepage of this demo site that I have. So this is just a test site. I've populated it with some content that we can use today, some articles, some events, some spaces, people, just so we have content that we can use for this page. So this is an example of what we're going to build. This is where it started. So this is kind of a default page builder page that you may see when you get your blank Axero intranet and you haven't added any content. And once you start adding content, you might start seeing some widgets populate with your blogs or your articles or your people, or if you created a poll. This is kind of just a page with a bunch of widgets on it. So it is very linear. We've got some columns. It looks kind of organized, but there's really no flow to it. There's really no intent. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to take we're gonna create a page builder page, and we're gonna design it to look like this. So this way we are choosing the content that we want to present on the page. We are choosing the links that we want our users to have. And so we can help them navigate their intranet a lot easier. So let's go ahead and get started. When you log into your Axero intranet as a site admin, you're gonna see this little gear icon in the upper right corner. And this is where you're going to be able to access your admin links. One of those admin links is Page Builder, and this is going to allow you to create pages at the top level of your site. You also have the ability, when you start creating spaces and adding more users, to create Page Builder pages in specific spaces, as well as assign space admins who can manage those pages with you or for you. So you don't have to be the only person responsible for designing or building these out. But today I'm logged in as a site admin, so that's how we're going to approach this. Usually when you're first starting your intranet, you are going to be signed in as a site admin account. So you're going to have the same interface and the same look. I'm going to click on Page Builder. And this is going to take me to my Page Builder interface. Now you can see I already have a variety of pages here created. We do have the home page, which is this. This is the page that we were looking at here. And then we have our example page, which is the one that we're going to build. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to add a page. I'm going to click here to add my page. I'm going to go ahead and type in the name. Again, this is my details tab. So I'm going to call this homepage, and we're just going to call it new for right now. I'm going to change a few things when I switch this to be my main homepage for my site. But for right now, we're going to call this homepage new. It is going to live in the top level community because this is the homepage for my site. And for the URL, I'm just going to go ahead and type / and we're going to say homepage, and we're going to say new. So these are the basics that you're going to need whenever you're creating a page builder page. You're going to need a name, you're going to need to choose the space where it lives, and you're going to need a unique page URL. Right now, I'm going to click Publish Changes, and I recommend you do the same. This is actually going to create the page for me, so that way I can start building. You don't have to do it, but if you were to navigate, let's say you close this tab after you added some content, you're going to lose some of those changes. You have to start all over. So I always recommend, once you've got your details, go ahead and click Publish Pages. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on the layout. Now that we've created our page and it is blank, so again, there's nothing on here and I've got my blank canvas. The next step is building our layout. So this is going to be where we add our rows and our columns. These over here are going to represent the rows. Now you're going to notice that they do have numbers associated with them. This one says 12 and this one underneath says 6 by 6. Now, when I drag them over, you're going to see a visual representation that the one that's marked 12 goes all the way across, and the one that is marked 6 by 6 is split in half. Essentially, it's 2 columns. And the way this works is that there's actually an invisible grid system that you aren't seeing, but is very prominent in web development applications and frameworks. And so all that really means is that this page is divided into 12 equal sections all the way across. Now you can't see them, but they're there. And these numbers correlate to how many sections that row is going to take up. So a 12 is going to take up all 12 rows, right? A 6 by 6 is going to have 6 rows on one side and 6 rows on the other. They're essentially giving you 2 equal columns. Now, that's the explanation of what's going on. What I always recommend is just drag these on to the page, and that way you can see them. It makes a lot more sense when you do that, and then you can decide which rows and which columns you need. What I'm going to do for my layout, since we are, let me bring up my example again here. So since we are creating this example page, I have kind of a main section over here with a small column on the right. So what I'm going to do is I am going to drag over this 8 by 4. So you're going to see it's got a bigger section on the left side and a smaller sidebar on the right here. And then I've got my main row on the top, and that's going to be for my little greeting here. The other row or layout that I'm going to need are these 2 columns. So we'll notice that these 2 widgets are side by side. When you drag widgets into a column, they're just going to stack on top of each other, right? So if I want them side by side, I essentially need to have them in 2 columns So this is where we can nest those rows. So I can take this 6 by 6, which is essentially just a two equal columns, right? And I can nest that in an existing column. And so now I have a section where I can place widgets that are going to take up this full area. And then I have a section where I can place widgets that are going to be equal size next to each other in 2 columns. Again, I'm going to publish my changes. I just like to save my work as I go along, just so again, if I were to close my browser, navigate away from this page, I'm not going to lose any of my progress. If we look at the preview, we're not going to see anything yet. We haven't added any of the widgets, and the widgets are going to do the magic. They're actually going to pull in the content. And so that's where we're going to start here. And the first widget we want is the people widget. Now, this is going to be our greeting up at the top right here that says the name of the user that's logged in. And the people widget essentially allows us to pull in people, right? So it allows us to create lists of people, directories of people, or to create a greeting for a single user. So I'm going to edit the property for this widget. I'm going to call this greeting. And then I'm going to set the the widget type to a single person, because again, it's a greeting and I only want it to reference one person. And by default, it already has the logged in user checked. And so what that means is that when anybody looks at this page, this widget is going to grab the name of the logged in user and display that in the greeting. So it's a very simple widget. It's a very simple process and a template. So the template we're going to use is the greeting. It just says, welcome so-and-so to your intranet. And we're going to go ahead and save that widget. Now, if we preview this, we should now see content on our page. So it says, hello, Alexis, welcome to the intranet. That's the user that I'm signed in under. If we wanted to change the greeting message, that would be done in the template. So it is a slightly more advanced, but if you were to edit this template, you would just see the words hello. You would see the placeholder for the username and the welcome message. You could always go in there and adjust it as needed. But we're going to leave it as is for today, just to kind of keep things simple. So the next main section that we're going to add is we're going to work on these widgets here. So this is what we call a content list widget. It's going to pull in the content from our site. So articles, blogs, things like that. What we're pulling in here is articles. These are going to be like our news, right? We're going to use articles for creating news and announcements, press releases, things like that. Anything we want our users in our community to know. This right here, these are links. These are our navigation elements. We do have another content list element or widget that is pulling in events. And then we have another people widget here. So this is the section we're going to focus on right now. And so the first widget we're going to need is that content list widget. And we're going to drag it into our row right above the 2 columns underneath here, since this is going to be the main featured widget section. And what we're going to do is we're going to call this news. And for the widget subtype, we're just going to leave this as a content list widget. The content type will be article. So we're going to pull in articles. Again, those are going to be our news. And we're actually going to pull in articles that have been published in the company announcement space. So in my demo site, that's where we publish our news articles. We just created a space for it. We publish our articles there. For the number of items, I'm going to choose 5. It is going to sort by the most recent. So this is always going to display the most recently published article first on the page when somebody navigates to that homepage. And then for the template, we are going to choose the XS newsroom hero carousel. Now, these are templates that I've already gone through and spent time picking for this design. So that's why I kind of know exactly which ones to go through. Otherwise you can reference our documentation to see the different templates that you may want to use, or you could just try out a few by selecting a template and then previewing it on the page to see what it looks like. But this is the template that we're going to use for this design, and it matches exactly the one that we're using here. So then the next widget that we're going to add are going to be those 2 banners. So those are like call to actions. It's a navigation widget. They're just a static link. So if you had maybe like if there was maybe you were doing a benefits, people were needed to enroll in something, maybe there was a new training that you wanted people to, navigate to, anything that you wanted to call out on your homepage that you want people to then immediately link to, you could use this navigation widget to do that. And so I'm going to drag a navigation widget right here underneath the content list. And give me 1 second. Just need to make something bigger on my end. All right, we're going to edit this widget, and we're just going to call this announcements. And that's what we're using this widget as. It's really just to kind of announce or to call out a few different links that we want to send people to. And so for the first one, this is a staff photo competition. So I'm going to have my navigation item right here. I'm going to go ahead and paste in that text. So that's going to be the title of that link. For the URL, obviously you would link to what you wanted this to take your users to. I'm just going to use a little hashtag or a # sign in order to have this as a placeholder. So it's not going to link anywhere, but this will allow it to be visually present on the web page. I'm going to click on the advanced tab here, and this is where I could set things like opening it in a new tab. So if I didn't want to navigate people away from the homepage, I just wanted to open it up in a new tab, I could do that here. And then I'm going to add a foreground image, and that's going to be the actual image for my navigation widget. So let me go ahead and do that real quick. I've got one on my computer here, and that's going to be these hot air balloons. We'll go ahead and save it, and we're going to save that item. We're going to add our second one right underneath. So I'll click, just so you see that real quick. I'm going to click on the add item, and that's going to go ahead and add a new item here for me. And we're just going to do the same thing. So this was for our Wi-Fi password. So I'm going to go ahead and paste in that title. I'm going to put in my little placeholder link. And then under the advanced tab, I'm going to say open in a new tab. And for the foreground image, we're going to go ahead and we are going to select that laptop as well. So we'll drag and drop that. We're going to save it, save the item. Okay, so now I've got both of these. Now the last thing I need to do is I need to make sure that I'm using the correct template, right? So this navigation widget is going to have a list of items or links, but I need to make sure I'm using the right template. So the template that we're using for this one is going to be this banner navigation template. So we're going to use that. And then under the advanced tab, there's a few features that I'm going to adjust just so I get the look that I want. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the show header. And so what this is going to do is instead of having the widget title above my links, it's going to go ahead and hide that. So it won't say announcements. It won't say whatever I put in the title. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the hide container border. And what this is going to do is it's going to hide that white widget background. So every widget kind of has a rounded corners, a white background, and a little bit of a shadow effect. So this is really going to hide that. So that way my links are just by themselves on the page. So I've made those changes. I'm going to save my widget. And then again, we can preview that here. And we're going to get that look that we are after. So it's going to look identical. And I'm going to publish my changes. So let's go back to the layout, and I'll move a little bit quicker on some of these now that you've seen me do a few. Just so I don't have to preview it for you every time, because I know we're going to kind of see what it looks like at the end here. So the next one is going to be my content list widget again for the upcoming events. Now, this content list widget I use to pull in articles, but you can also use it to pull in other things like events. You can use it to pull in a list of spaces. You could use it to pull in a list of wikis, discussions, pretty much anything that you want. It is a content list, so it gives you a list of content. And the templates allow you to display it in a variety of ways. Now, we have some cool features for the events. So this one's actually pretty simple. If I say upcoming events, what I can do here is for the content type, I can go ahead and say event. And then I think there it is. So underneath it, once I select event, the widget knows that what I want is upcoming events, right? So it gives me that option just to click this button and save my widget. And what that does is that's going to automatically adjust the sort for me. And it's also going to adjust the template. So it's going to give me the template that shows the calendars. Now I could go back and change that to anything else I want, but again, this is just kind of a very quick, simple way to put a list of upcoming events on a page with just a few button presses. All right, and then my last one, actually, I think we wanted 5 items. So I'm just gonna update that real quick. I actually want 5 events just because I want that widget to be a certain height. I think it'll make the page look a little more balanced. And then the last item we have in this main section is our new hires. So that's gonna be another people widget. Again, we're dealing with people. We wanna do a list of people. So we're gonna use a people widget. And for this one, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to call this new hires. So we are going to call it actually welcome new hires. So let me grab that and paste that in there. It is going to be a people list. We're going to do 16. So we get that nice grid pattern, 4 across, 4 down. It is going to be people of this space. So we're calling it top level community, right? Because again, that's all encompassing. That's your entire intranet. If we were to choose a specific space, it would only show us members of that specific space, but we want to show new hires in our entire community. The sort by, we're actually going to sort by the date that they joined, and we're going to go ahead and do descending. And then for the template, we are going to choose the people grid large. So we already have a template that gives you that nice square look that we had on the other page. And I know I said I wasn't going to do the preview again, but I'm going to go ahead and do that here. Let me take a look and see what we did, because that looks like that's not quite exactly what we wanted there. So it may not have, yeah, I didn't save the template correctly. There we go. So people grid large. And then let me go ahead. Oh, I might have accidentally hit cancel or clicked outside of the widget. So let's fix this real quick. And I'll do welcome new hires. All right, let's go ahead and save that widget. All right, there we go, perfect. And now we should see that people grid. So pretty simple to do, just dragging and dropping widgets, selecting a few options, and we already have the page layout that we're looking for. Now this next section, we're just gonna go ahead and do the sidebar here. So hopefully this won't take too long, but it'll kind of give you an idea of a few other widgets that you can use. The search widget, we're going to be using a spaceless widget, and then we're also going to use the navigation widget again, but you're going to get to see a few different templates. So this was the navigation banner template. This is going to be a different template. And then for the launch pad, we're also going to use a different template for that. So kind of nice that you can use you know, one widget in a few different ways. It just kind of shows the different flexibility that you have. So let's go ahead and jump back over here. And so the first thing that we had on the top of our sidebar was our search widget. And this one's actually pretty easy to set up because really you just need to drag it over and drop it on the page. So it's already set up with the title search. We're going to leave that as is. It's going to search your entire community. And for the template, we're just going to use the default search template. Now, if you wanted to search a specific space, you could always select a space, like maybe I wanted human resources, and then I could say search HR, and it's going to filter just content in that one space. But for us, we're going to go ahead and we're going to leave that as the top level community. And I'm going to save my widget. And so now we have our search bar here. Underneath that, we had our quick links, so our navigation to useful links that people might need, people directory, employee handbook, org chart, anything like that. Obviously, you can link to external pages. So if you wanted to link out to maybe a payroll processor, if you wanted to link out to like an external calendar or just applications that your team uses, you could do that as well. But today, we're just going to go ahead and link to links inside the site. Actually, I'll probably just use a bunch of placeholders just for the demo, but it'll give you an idea of what you can do with this. So for the first item, we're going to go ahead and do news and announcements. And we're going to be using icons for these. So the last navigation widget that we used images. But for this navigation widget, we're going to go ahead and use icons. And there's an icon selector already built in that's using the Font Awesome icons. So icons that you're very familiar with. it's going to give your site a very nice, streamlined, cohesive look, and it's easy to use. So it makes it really simple to create very nice navigational menus, whether it's for your homepage or a space homepage or any other page on your site. I'm going to go ahead and use my little placeholder here, and we're just going to save that. So I've created one item. We're going to add a few more. So I think I have people directory. And for this one, we're just going to use the single user icon, and we're going to put in our placeholder as well, and we'll save that. We have an org chart, so we're going to go ahead and create a link to our site's org chart. And for the icon, I think we're just using sitemap right here. So the icon picker is nice because if you know what you're looking for, you type it in. If not, you can type in some keywords, and it'll usually give you a good recommendation of what icon you're looking for. So you can browse through those, find one that you like for your particular purpose or use case. And then the last one that we're going to do is our employee handbook. All right. And for this one, we're just going to use a book, keep it simple. I think, yeah, we'll use this one. So there's a few different books that you can select from there, and we'll put in our placeholder and we'll save it. Now, this template, we used the banner navigation for our last navigation template, but this one, we want the icons, and we kind of like that that rounded look over here. So this is what we would call like a pill or a pills design for a button. So that's what we're going to use here is this nav icon blocks pills template. We will save the widget, and then we can go ahead and preview this. We made a few changes. So we added the search bar, we added the quick links. And so it's starting to look very, very similar to the page that we have in the example. So let's go ahead and publish our changes here to save our work. And then we have two more widgets to do. So the space list widget and then the navigation widget. Now the space list widget is another easy widget to add. Because just dragging and dropping it over, if we preview it, it's already going to give us a list of spaces. Now we are going to change the sort order. I think by default, it's going to do the most recent, but since we are doing a list of spaces that are going to be used to help our users navigate to those particular areas on our site, we actually want to sort them by the title. So we want to go ahead and have it alphabetical. The parent space, we're going to do the top level community. So again, going back to at the beginning, I had said that the top level community is kind of the whole of your intranet, and within there you can create spaces. You can also create spaces within spaces. So when you are creating a space list to use for navigation, you can choose the parent space. If I choose the top level community, it's going to give me all of the spaces I've created underneath the top level community. So that'd be like my HR, my IT, maybe I think I had a safety community space in there. Now, if I wanted to show a list of my subspaces, I could always select a space that maybe has some subspaces. So my human resource space in my demo has a space for employee onboarding, and it has a space for training and development. So if I wanted to list the spaces that exist in my human resource, I could do that. But for this example, we're just going to go ahead and list our top level spaces, right? So just kind of the main parent spaces. And I believe we have 5. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And I'm going to save my widget here. And then we can go ahead and preview this, and we'll see that now we have our list of spaces. Now, they are alphabetical, but starting from the end and going down. So let me adjust that sort order. And we're going to change that to ascending, and we'll save the widget. And we'll go ahead and we can preview it. And there we go. Now we have them alphabetized here. So users can quickly navigate to the spaces, parent spaces using this list on the homepage. I think we had one other feature. I think we turned the footer on. So that's going to be under the advanced tab. But what this is going to do is this is going to create a little link at the bottom of this space list that is going to take users to the browse space section. So this is where they could actually just search for spaces. They can see spaces they're a member of. They can see other parent spaces as well. And we can show you what that looks like. But just turn that feature on to match our example. And then the last widget we're going to add before this page is done is we're going to add our launchpad. So our launchpad is going to consist of, links to applications that your users are going to need daily, right? We're trying to make this homepage as useful for your users when they log in. It's the first thing that they're going to see. They're going to get some news updates. They're going to see the most important links that you want them to see. They're going to have access to quick links, things that they use regularly, and access to their applications that they also need on a day-to-day basis. So this just makes the homepage more useful to your users when they log in. So the items that we have on here, we had SharePoint. I should actually just copy and paste this because I'm going to be terrible with typing. So let me go ahead and plug that in there. So we have SharePoint. Again, I'm going to use my placeholder URL. This is just so this link appears on the page. You would actually put in the URL where you want this to take the user. We're going to open it up in a new tab, and then we're going to use images again. So I actually have some icons for these different applications that I'm going to use. So we'll add my SharePoint icon right here, and I'm going to save that. We're going to save this item. We're going to add another item here. This will be for our Microsoft Teams. So we're going to paste that in. Whoops. There we go. And again, we're going to add our Teams icon. So clicking on the Advanced tab, clicking on the foreground image, I'm going to go ahead and drop in the Teams icon here. We're going to save that. We're going to save our item, and we're going to add two more. So we're going to do Office 365. Whoops, there we go. And we'll add our image there. And then we have the Google Drive. So these are going to be Launchpad. These are actually going to launch out to the different applications. You'd have your link in there. But the nice thing is we do have integrations with a lot of these sites. So that's another thing you can always dive into is our third-party integrations that we have available. That's not something we'll dive into on this call. Today is just about Page Builder, but I just wanted you to be aware that we do have those options for these different platforms. And our last one was Google Drive. So let's go ahead and paste that in. And we'll put our placeholder link under the Advanced tab. Again, we're going to open in a new tab. We're going to add our image for our Google Drive. So it's going to be our icon here. Oops. Paste that over. Save it, and let's save this widget. All right. And let's go ahead and publish our changes. And then let's go to this page so we can take a look at what we've created. So good thing that we took a look at this. So our Launchpad is actually not quite exactly what we wanted. It's showing the default list. So it doesn't look like our example page. And that's because I didn't select the correct template. So we're going to go back to, we're going to edit our page. So this is the Page Builder page we just created. We're going to go ahead and we're going to edit it so it looks closer here. So let's go back here. And one thing I want to show you is on your Page Builder pages, whenever you see this little gray tab, this means that this page can be edited. It's a Page Builder page, you can edit it. So you don't always have to go back to the control panel, Page Builder, find the page you're looking for. If you're on a Page Builder page and you see something that you want to change, like I see our navigation, you can hover over this little tab and click on it. And this is going to allow you to quickly edit this page that you're currently on. So it's going to take you right into the Page Builder editor. I can go to my navigation widget. I can edit its properties. And under the template, we can go ahead and we can select the Launchpad template that we are looking for. Let me go ahead and save this widget, and let's publish the changes. And then we're going to go to the page and we should see the change immediately. And there we go. And so that is the example, the demo, just using the built-in widgets, using the built-in templates. We haven't done any customization by customizing templates. We haven't done any customization with CSS. This is just out of the box. We're using great imagery. We're using useful links. We're using useful content for our users. And we're able to create a very streamlined page. So I think I had two other things that I want to show you real quick before we jump into a Q&A. Now, I have this page, but I need to set it as the homepage of my site. If I were to go ahead and click on here, it's still taking me back to this old looking page that I don't want. So there is a little bit of administration that you're going to want to do in order to get your this as your homepage. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Let me actually close out some of these tabs. It'll make it a little bit easier, I think, for us to see. So I'm going to go to Page Builder. And so I have my old homepage. I have my example homepage that I was using as my my starter or what we were trying to accomplish. And then I have the new homepage that I just created. Now, to set the new homepage as the page of my site, I have to make a couple changes here. So first, what we want to take a look at is we actually are just going to update our system properties real quick. There is a URL mapper that if you are, in my example, if you are creating a homepage, I didn't edit the homepage that came out of the box, I added a new one. There is a page builder URL mapper that will always map back to that old page. And it's really so that if you make adjustments to existing URL pages, say you change the URL, people will always be able to be navigated to the most current version. But since I've created different page builder pages, what we want to do here, and I'm going to change the URL, so we want to make sure our URL mapper is off, because I really don't want the mapping back to the old one. If I update the URL, it can get a little confusing. So what I did is I went to our system properties. I just typed in the word URL, and right here at the very top is the add page builder page URL changes to URL mapper, and I just turned that off. So you could just edit it, disable it, and you're good to go to make changes to your page builder URLs without looping back around. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to my old homepage. So we're going to jump right in here. I'm going to edit my old homepage, and you'll see that the page URL is just set to this slash, right? And this is going to tell the site that this is the landing page of my site. This is where, when people log in, this is where I want them to be taken. So I need to change that. I don't want this page to have that URL anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change it. I'm just going to call it old. I'm also going to change the title of this page just so I know in my admin section that this is the old page. So I've changed the title. I've changed the URL. Essentially what I'm doing is I'm freeing up the URL that I want to use. So I've made those changes. I've published those changes. I've saved them. And now I'm going to click on the link in the upper left corner for all pages. So I'm going to go back to all pages. And now I've got my homepage new right here. That's the one that I created. So we're going to click on that to edit it. And then I'm just going to change the URL. So I'm just doing a little bit of administration work here. Essentially, I've created my pages, just changing my URL so everything points correctly. I'm going to publish the changes. And now when I go to the page, this will be the homepage of my site. So if I were to click here, it's going to take me to the old page. So I have one other change to make. It's always fun with examples when they don't quite go the way that you want. So the only other change that I need to make is up here in the header. And for the global sub navigation, that's my header that I currently have. You may need to update the links. So in the logo section, we can go ahead and we can make sure, for the logo button, we can make sure that this is taking me to the new homepage. So I can also do that with my home button. So again, we're editing the header of my site. It is a page builder page, so it does make it easy, especially since we've already added a bunch of links. All I'm doing is I'm updating the link. It's a button, so it's a navigation element. And I'm just publishing those changes. And then what we should see now is that this should be the landing page of our site. So this is the one that we just created. You can kind of tell because my hello text is a little bit bigger. But that's it. That's how you create page builder page. That's how you create one for your home page. And then you can adjust the URLs as needed to make sure that you're directing people correctly. I think Nicole is going to jump in here. We may have some questions and some items to wrap up.
Yes, there are quite a few questions coming in. So that was wonderful, Nathaniel. Thank you for being so thorough and explaining what you are doing and why, because that helps everyone understand, right? So there were a couple of questions. Just want to make sure some of them were answered, but we want to make sure that they're answered live so you can share with the entire audience. So somebody asked, what if the number of new hires changes? How you have this set up right now, the 4x4. So they asked, what if the new hire number of new hires changes? And then how do you make it look clean? You're muted, Nathaniel.
Thank you. Yeah, so the widget itself will show the number that you set. So it's going to show, it's set up to show 4 across. And so it's just going to fill in those squares all the way. You could do, 4, 8, 12. That'll kind of keep everything consistent. If there was only 3 new hires, it would show those 3. There might be a little bit of space, but it'll just kind of continue filling in until you've hit the max number that you've set. Now it is a template. You can, if you want to get more advanced with it, you could always edit the template. You could always adjust it with CSS. You could choose a different template that fits your needs. But yeah, it's going to be based off the number that you choose. So it won't just continuously pull in new hires. It's going to show the 16, newest people. We did it by the date that they joined the community.
Wonderful. And then a follow-up to that is, if we created users ahead of their actual start date, does it work similarly? How does that happen?
Well, it's sorting by the date that they join the community. So if you create them ahead of their actual start date, it would still be sorting by the date that you added them to the community.
Wonderful, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Another question was, can we save the page without publishing if we aren't ready for people to see the changes live on the page yet?
So that's a good question. You can't, you can save the page. The site is not going to automatically link to the page. So the only way that user is going to find that page is if you shared the direct link to that page with them, or if you were to make the page searchable. One thing that you could do, and we didn't get into this because we are only creating a homepage for a site, but I did mention earlier that you can have spaces and you could build pages in spaces. So you could create a private space, and in that private space, you can build your pages. And when you are ready to make them live, you can change the location, right? So when we edited the page, or when we were first starting it up, we told the system where this page is going to live. So we could have a private space where we develop all our pages, and then when we're ready to make them live, we could change the location of where the page lives and then make it live. But there is not a draft state. There's not a way to create the page, save it as a draft before making it go live.
A kind of a similar question to that was, when you are editing the page, does the current version stay active for users visiting it? So I think that kind of answers that question as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Correct. It wouldn't, updates wouldn't take effect until you hit published. So that's, that's one thing. You can also, so you'll notice I have a homepage old, homepage example. You could also clone a page. So if there's a page that you want to work on, you want to leave, in our instance, we, did a different version, or, a slightly different version of a homepage, right? So we created a secondary page. If you're starting from an existing page, you could always clone it. And if you cloned your page, it would tell you the page name that it was cloned, and then you could make changes to that without affecting the other page, because they're 2 separate pages. And then when you're ready, you would just change the URLs.
That's what I like to do. I like to clone mine to have an editing copy.
Mm-hmm.
Another question was, it looks like you could pull in multiple content types into the same widget. That's correct, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that is correct. Yeah. So we were just kind of keeping it simple, and we were just pulling in articles. But if I wanted to, I could pull in articles and blogs. I can pull in articles and wikis. You could do, wikis and videos, wikis and blogs. Content lists allow you to list any content however you'd like.
And then a follow-up of that, the first question we asked about the widgets, pulling in the people, was Does the page builder widget pull in the images for the new hires from their profiles, or are you adding that into the widget directly?
It pulls it in from their profiles. Mhm.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And another one here. The delete button is very close to the edit button. Does it directly delete the page, or does it ask for confirmation first so we don't delete by mistake?
You're going to get a confirmation. Yeah, yeah. So it's not going to delete it instantly. You're going to have to click delete, and then you're going to have to say, yes, I want to delete it again.
Wonderful.
Mhm.
Let's see. Where would be the best quality pictures for articles or logos?
So that's a good question. So we actually have an integration with Unsplash. So that's one way that you can pull in great article or great images for your articles. So this is something that you can set up. We have instructions on how to do it, but essentially it's going to give you high quality, royalty-free images that you can select from. You can search different keywords, you can search orientation. Otherwise, there are sites that you can use online, Getty Images, iStock. Some are free, some are paid, some offer different, subscription plans. You are also able within Axero to select images from your computer. You can choose images from an album. So an album are images that have been uploaded to your Axero platform. So you would see any albums that you created, or you can specify certain albums to be used as stock photos throughout your site, which means everybody would have access to this collection of images. Now, you still have to provide the images. These aren't, they don't just magically appear. But if you already had a collection of images that have been approved internally, you could upload them into an album to be used as like stock photography for all of your articles.
Can we create different home pages based on different user roles?
Yeah, so there is a way to section out your homepage. So when a user logs in, they wouldn't be redirected to a different page based off their site role. The site is not going to say, oh, this is a member, or oh, this is a admin or a team leader. It needs to go to this URL. But what you can do, and this is a little bit more of an advanced feature, but still something really cool, is the widgets and the rows themselves can be visible based off of a user's role. So you could do that on a widget level. What I like to do sometimes is if I'm creating, so if this is my default homepage, but maybe I want a homepage for a certain use case or team members, or maybe I want a certain section with some widgets in it to only be viewable by my admins, I can add a row. I can edit the properties for that row. And under the roles tab, I can say that this row and everything inside this row can only be viewed by my site administrator. So I can save it. And then maybe what I want to do in here is add some links to site admin only tools, right? Or maybe I want to have some news or some updates that only my site admins can see. So that's how you can accomplish that, where you can have one page that certain things only certain users see. Now, with that being said, the content on the page itself, so for instance, this widget is pulling in articles. I could have this widget pull in articles from a lot of different spaces. And some of those spaces may be private, which means only members of those spaces will have access to the content in those spaces. Now, the widgets are smart in the fact that if I were to view this page and view this widget, it's not going to show me articles from any space I'm not allowed to see the articles, right? So if there is a private space and I'm not a member of that private space and that private space has articles, this widget would not show that to me. But if another user logs in and they are a member of that private space, they could see the articles in this widget. Again, just depending on how you set it up. So that's the nice thing about the widgets, is the widgets will rely on the access the user has to the actual content, and it's only going to show the user what they're allowed to see. So in a way, it creates dynamic custom pages for you, because not every user is going to have identically the same view, because everybody is going to have different access to different content throughout the site.
So an example, would you say, is like in the list of spaces, you have a Paris office. If I were part of that Paris office and it's showing articles in that same widget, I would only show it, be seeing that if I was part of that Paris office.
Correct. And likewise, this space could be private, and maybe only our Paris members are a part of it. And therefore, this list, if I'm part of the US team, would not show me the Paris office. I just wouldn't see it. It's like it wouldn't exist to me within the intranet. But when a user from the Paris office logs in, they would see that space and have access to the content in it.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
How did you make the image with the hot air balloons slanted? Is that the actual image itself, or is that the template that does the angle visual?
Gotcha. Yeah, it's actually styled. It's part of the template. So depending on how wide it is, that's going to be how prominent that slant is. If this banner were to be in a narrower column, you're just going to see a little square. But then as it expands, you're going to kind of get that style added to it. But it is part of the template.
Is there a way that we can practice the lessons from today?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you have a if you have an Axero platform, or if you have a demo site, you can always play around with Page Builder. The best thing to do is to reach out to one of our sales reps or somebody from our sales team. I think we have some contact information in the PowerPoint, but we can get you set up and start talking to you about how to get on the platform, how to start using it, and how to get a demo of that.
Wonderful. On the new hires widget, can a date range be set so that, say, you are only posting for that month, so all new hires for a select amount of time?
Gotcha. Some widgets do. I don't believe this one does. The content list widget does have a publication date, but the people widget for the people list doesn't have a specific time frame that you could set there.
Is that something that could be maybe more advanced in the templates of setting a sort of date range?
Possibly. I mean, that's kind of the nice thing about our platform, is just how much access you have to the different features. So not only can you modify the CSS or the styling of the site, but you do have access to the actual template markup, so you could change things. So and utilizing and leveraging things like our REST API allows you really the flexibility to kind of customize the site any way that you want. So you technically could get that date, that information, and use it to modify the template to only show it from a certain range. But the widget itself doesn't have that functionality built into it.
Is there a way to embed a Google slideshow?
Yeah, so we do have the raw HTML widget, which allows you to embed a lot of different content. You also have the iframe widget, which can do a similar function. Really, a lot of times that just depends on the third-party site, right? So if Google has a share embed function that's going to give you the embed markup needed, the raw HTML widget is going to give you a place to paste that. Likewise with iframes, that is going to allow you to essentially use an iframe to pull in another web page. Now, whether or not that web page allows that, a lot of times that's up to that domain. So not all of them do. So you may not be able to, like, say, take a dashboard from one of your sites or applications and embed it into Axero if that site doesn't allow that cross-domain happening with iframes.
So maybe a good example of that would be like Google Forms are embeddable, and you can embed that in the raw HTML and then display it on a frame. Yeah. Can I ask how to add a PDF to a page? Would it be added somewhere and then linked to the page? It sounds like maybe like adding a list of PDFs to display on a page.
Yeah, so if you were going to do that, a PDF is a file, and so you would want to upload files into the file section of a space. So you could either upload them into the file section of your top level space, or if they're files that belong, to a certain department like human resources, you can upload your files there, and then you can share a link directly. So just like with our navigation quick links, one of the nice things about it is that beyond the URL, you could also do item type. Like I could say content, I can say I want to link to a specific file that I've uploaded, let's say in my human resource space, and then I can go ahead and start typing. And so I can find, whichever file I'm looking for. It could be a PDF. So here's a dental plan booklet. That's a PDF. It's a file in our human resource space. So I'll just call this dental plan. And let's see if we got I doubt we have teeth, but that might be freaky. So we'll just do a little smile. We'll save our widget. We'll publish our changes, and then we'll go to the page. And then here we've got the link now that when I click on it, it's going to take me directly to that PDF, so the person can view it and view it, print it, whatever they'd like to do there.
Wonderful. Would you suggest to post FAQ questions for different topics on the homepage, like a list of FAQs?
Yeah, what you can do is utilize the discussions feature. So discussions essentially allow you to create forums around certain topics. So, this is an example here of discussions in our human resource space. I could create one that's just called frequently asked questions. And then that's where users could post questions. This is actually one thing that we talk to a lot of our users of our platform about is when they're getting ready to launch, it's nice to create a frequently asked question discussion section, pre-populate it with some questions that people might ask. So do the 3 days of personal days have to be scheduled work days, right? So this may be something that might come up. You can ask the question and then you can provide the answer. And you can also lock these, right? So you can create a guide of how you want people to use the frequently asked questions section. You can have, some static questions or sticky questions that always stay at the top, right? The ones that you get asked the most. And then this teaches your users that, they can help themselves, right? If you have a question, post it here. Everybody in the community can then help out. And when they find the correct answer, they can go ahead and mark that as being answered. Now, the nice thing is that discussions, it's a type of content, right? So if I wanted to, I could add a content list on my homepage that says most recent discussions, right? And then I can have it show the latest discussions. People can click on the ones that they're interested in, read it, answer it, or ask a question.
And where would you suggest is best practice to have a list of frequently asked questions?
Yeah, so it could be part of your top level community. So if it's just a general, hey, we want an area where anybody on our site, regardless of what team they're a part of, what department they work on, that could just be part of our discussions. So that could be something that you turn on. And what we talk about is top level community. Again, that's your intranet as a whole. So you have, you have certain content types that can be on in spaces. They can be, turned on only in spaces. They can be turned off, or they can be on throughout your entire site. So if you wanted discussions turned on in your top level community, you can, instead of having them only be in spaces, you can turn them on and then they're just part of your top level community. Alternatively, you could create a space just for that. So if you had a space where you wanted your frequently asked questions to go, you wanted maybe your, how to use the internet, documentation, wikis. If this was, depending on what the questions are about and what it is you're focusing on, you may want to create a space for that. So this is our space that encompasses everything related to a certain topic, discussions, files, wikis, things like that.
So you could have HR FAQs versus IT FAQs and have those on the respective spaces.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, because those may be different, right? And then that kind of helps tailor it. You know, IT can take care of any IT related questions. They can, you know, post all of the questions they get asked most often, and that way people can go there. And then that's great too. You can, on your homepage, instead of, you know, a link to frequently asked questions, you can have, you know, IT support, you know, FAQ or something like that.
Does Axero have page templates that we can use, or do we always have to start from scratch?
Yeah, no, that's actually a great question. So we do have templates available. I'll bring them up right now. And so this is a way that you can start from, you know, like already a starting place. And this kind of gives you an example of some designs that we've already done. So this is the one that we created today, right? We built it. This is actually something you can download and upload to your site. And it's basically going to do all the heavy lifting for you, right? It's going to add the layout, it's going to add all the widgets. And then you just go in and customize it. You know, you're going to add your image. So maybe we don't want to use the hot air balloon image. You know, we want to add a different one. We want to change the titles of things. We want to change our launch pad. You can do all that. We have videos to teach you how to do that. We have different example pages. So maybe like a news page. We do have, you know, an employee handbook page. Well, that didn't get as big as I thought it was going to. But, you know, so just ideas of how you can use it, because Page Builder is very flexible and it doesn't necessarily tell you what to do, right? It's like a blank canvas, you know, so you're staring at a blank canvas. This is going to kind of inspire you to get some ideas of how you can use the different features in Communifier with Page Builder and the different widgets, you know, to accomplish certain things. You know, if you want an area, maybe you don't want people sharing social media stuff throughout the site, let's give them an area to do it. You know, we can have our Twitter feed there. We can have our Facebook feed there. We can bring in an RSS feed of maybe our blogs that we're posting on our public facing website, right? So we can kind of focus certain things. You know, maybe we want to do actually we did a new one, I think, for, yeah, diversity and inclusion, right? So you can have a page focused strictly on that. So this could be a space that contains all the content. And then this could be the homepage, right? So you send people to this page, you can feature, you know, activities that you're doing, maybe trainings, you can feature people, all kinds of things. But again, it just allows you to see past the idea of a Page Builder page just needs to be a homepage or a space homepage. You know, they can be standalone pages. You know, this is I think we had, yeah. So this is one for like, you know, maybe can I make that bigger? You know, maybe a campaign, right? So this is a, you know, a running volunteer type thing, but maybe you have some other campaign that you're pushing in your company, and you want to have a page just dedicated to talk about that, right? To feature things about that campaign. You could create a page specifically for that purpose.
Wonderful. Is there a way to hide user questions posted on discussions? It's currently set to use a workflow and show as a pending approval, but I would like to hide from users until it's approved, similar to what can be done in comments on wiki pages. So it sounds like they're asking about like the workflow approvals of before a discussion is posted, if it can be reviewed and approved with our moderation workflows, similar to how we have comment workflows.
I think that might be one that our team, I think we want to kind of focus more. I know we've taken a few, but I would say, you know, focusing more on Page Builder topics right now. But that's one we can take offline and try to share. It sounds like this is a current user that's maybe run into, you know, some questions or some, you know, how-tos. So we do have a support community for that. We have discussions. So my.axerosolutions.com, we have a whole discussion forum there where our support team and our technical team would be available to help address questions like that.
Yeah, perfect. And we'll make sure we share that at the end. I know we have a link there. I seem to struggle with adding images to the launch pads. Is there a simple way to update those images? And that might be related to what we were talking about earlier with like the set or our recommendation for size of imaging.
Yeah, so the way that you update the Launchpad images are with the navigation itself. So you would just edit the navigation. you would edit the item. And then under the advanced tab, you would go ahead and you could remove and upload that image. Now, in the navigation itself, it's going to be, I think it's like 55 pixels by 55 pixels. It's going to be a square. Anything bigger than that is really going to just kind of be shrunken down to fit inside the square. It's best to use squares if you have like an icon that's a square and one that's maybe a little bit of a landscape image. They might not always align, right? Because they're going to want to like top align, right? So the top may be right, but the bottom on one image may be a little, higher than the other one. So I always try to keep these square. Again, it's going to be 55 pixels by 55 pixels, but really if you use any image that is a square ratio, you should get good results for that.
And this might be just our kind of verbiage. Somebody was asking about if the space needs a separate homepage or instead of just having a space page. So maybe you can show the example of like if the space has that left-hand navigation or not.
Yeah, so this is an example of a space, human resource space with a page builder page as its homepage, right? So I have my space navigation, and then I have the homepage, which is going to contain the widgets that I want people to see when they navigate to human resources. Whereas if I were to go to my safety committing space, this is a space that doesn't have a page builder homepage. So when you have a space and you don't set a homepage for it, the default landing page for any space will be the activity stream. So this is going to give you the wall where people can post to that space. It's going to give you the feed, which is going to show you the latest content, the latest activities that are occurring in that space, as well as the ability to search the space and kind of see a granular detail activity of what's been going on in that space. So this is the default look for any and all spaces. So the most common reason why our users want a page builder page as the homepage for their space, the landing page, is the customization, right? They get to choose what the person sees first when they land on that space. The user is still going to have access to that activity stream. So I could still go to the activity stream of my human resource space and see everything that's going on. But if I go back to the homepage, this is where I can put specific links related to certain, documents, right? So I think we had a question about, sharing a PDF file, right? Like I could put that PDF to the dental brochure on my homepage, but it might make more sense to keep that within HR, right? Maybe that's not what people are looking for right when they log into the homepage, but maybe, a benefits PDF is important. And as a user, I'm probably going to go to human resources to look for my benefits. And then if I had some quick links here specific tailored to this space, that's going to make this space a lot more useful and easier for me to navigate.
Thank you. I think we're going to start wrapping up here. I know we have just a few minutes left, so I'm going to share my screen and just wrap up here. If we weren't able to get to, I know we had still a couple of outstanding questions, but what we will do is make sure that we recap with the links that we talked about. We'll share the recording as well as the questions that we didn't get to answer today with everyone, all participants. And then we do have a lot of additional resources included in this. So we'll send this slideshow that we went through also. So you'll have all of the resources and links throughout this that we've shared today. And then, as we mentioned earlier, our online support community is full of additional resources for continued learning. So how-to videos and guides and our documentation. So you can all continue learning more. So all of those links are included here. And then I know we'll also be finishing up with a survey. So we would love to hear your feedback as well as any topics that you would love to see in future sessions. So definitely make sure that you share your feedback so we can hear directly from you on what you would like to see in an upcoming session. All right, I think that is everything from our team today. Adam or Alex, any final thoughts that you wanted to share with the group?
I'll just say great questions. I think we got over 20, 25 questions answered. I enjoyed it. I hope the conversation doesn't stop here. I posted the support community there. I think you all know folks you can reach out to, but you know how to get in touch with us. We'll share the recording afterwards, which has the links that Nicole's pointing to here as well. But it's great to see everyone. Thanks for actively participating, and thanks Nicole and Nathaniel for leading us through.
Yes, thank you, Adam.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for sticking around.